Hello, this is Team Irving's presentation on our SAP Part 1 for United Airlines. United Airlines is part of the domestic airline industry. This industry refers to the businesses who offer air transportation services to paying customers in transportation of cargo. As a whole, this industry has enhanced one's ability to expand travel opportunity at different parts of the world. United Airlines, a company within this industry, is a major American airline that has established themselves within the industry, growing to offer a large number of domestic and international travel options. Because United Airlines is one of the few airlines that offer a large domestic and international flight routes, their competition comes from airlines that also offer these services. United Airlines' four largest competitors in the domestic airline industry are American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and Southwest. In combination, these four companies fly 70% of all domestic traveling passengers, creating considerable amounts of competition between each one. The indirect competitors to United Airlines have developed with other modes of travel being offered to customers, such as car rentals, trains, buses, and even cruise boat companies.
Okay, so while working through the Porter's Five Forces model, we defined the buyers as passengers that are purchasing flights in the domestic airline industry. We defined the suppliers as the main five competitors in the domestic airline industry, which include Delta Airlines, American Airlines, United Airlines, and Southwest Airlines. We considered substitutes within the industry as ones that are not part of the main five competitors, and we also define that as airlines that are often cheaper, like Spirit and JetBlue. We also consider Alaska another substitute and a close competitor in the industry. When it comes to the threat of new entrants, we found that the level of force is low due to the large amount of capital needed to enter and be successful in the industry, as well as the numerous rules and government regulations that make it more difficult for companies to enter the industry. This keeps the profit among the main competitors. The supplier power was determined to be high due to the fact that the industry has fewer suppliers than buyers, which means that buyers, in this case, passengers, have fewer choices for domestic travel, giving the supplier more power when it comes to price, experience, and travel routes offered to buyers. The buyer power was determined to be moderate due to there being so many buyers, but also due to the current pandemic, buyers have a lot more of an impact on the domestic airline industry than usual. Buyers also have low switching costs, which means that if they were to switch from United Airlines to another domestic airline, they can do that without difficulty, which gives buyers more power. Rivalry among competitors is moderate in the industry because there are a few competitors within the industry itself, and they really only compete on price. Although for potential suppliers wanting to come into the industry, there are high fixed costs and high exit barriers that decrease profitability. Threat of substitutes is moderate because the industry as a whole is somewhat small, and there are not many substitutes outside of the industry. Within the industry, United Airline passengers do have other substitutes within the industry, and they compete with each other on things like price, transportation routes, and experience. There are a few cheaper domestic airline options like Spirit that have an advantage of low prices, but their competition is no match for the main competitors that include United Airlines. We found that the average profitability of the domestic airline industry, in which United Airlines is a main competitor, is moderate due to the current state of the pandemic. The profitability has decreased, although there has been a temporary decrease in profits. The industry is expected to increase profits over the next 5 years as people start to travel more and recover from the pandemic. For those that want to come into the industry, it is not profitable due to fixed costs and government regulations. But for those that are already main players in the industry, their profitability is higher because they have connections and financial means to stay within the industry.
All right, so based on the pestle analysis framework, we analyzed the macro environment factors that have impacts on the domestic airline industry and ultimately our chosen company of United Airlines. To start off are the political factors of the airline industry. It is one of the most regulated industries in the US, ranging from safety regulations to double taxation and passenger security, which are all set by the Federal Aviation Administration. Because this industry is so regulated and controlled by government political factors, it can be difficult for airlines to earn profits. Next are the economic factors of the pestle analysis. Since the start of COVID-19 in 2020, the demand for travel has decreased substantially, therefore causing airlines to drop ticket prices drastically to incentivize people to travel, but this has caused decreases in revenue. To make up for the unsustainable revenue losses, the CARES Act has given airline companies a $50 billion bailout to cover payroll expenses. Based on these uncertain economic times, it is wise for airlines like United to come up with cost-saving strategies. United has created their three-pillar crisis strategy, making them a leader for the other airlines to follow. Next is social. Since the start of COVID-19, consumers have less of a need and desire for flying, especially with the travel restrictions and stay-at-home orders. Consumers that do feel safe enough to fly are changing their preferences for which airline to travel with based on safety precautions for COVID-19. Airlines can expect to compete on safety factors for the foreseeable future. And next is technological. Technology has greatly changed the way people travel over the last decade. 80% of travelers prefer to book airfare tickets through airlines' websites or apps. Having an easy-to-use website and app for booking a flight is extremely important now in this industry. Facial recognition technology in place of boarding passes is also likely to take off now due to COVID-19 and limiting the human interaction amongst people. Consumers care more and more about the corporate social responsibility of the companies they support. Commercial aircrafts are huge players in greenhouse gas emissions, and starting in July 2021, airline manufacturers will be required to make engines that limit the amount of greenhouse gas emissions for all aircrafts. This will be the first time that the airline industry will have limits on this. And finally are the legal factors. The airline industry is highly unionized, with 80 to 85% of airline employees being part of a union. Therefore, labor is a huge cost for airline companies. However, under the Railway Labor Act, airline employees must seek permission from the federal government to organize walkout strikes, therefore limiting the power of unions slightly.
The United States domestic airline industry has gone through constant innovation since it was first opened over 100 years ago. With the drastic change in technology and demand for more flights since the airline industry started in 1914, this industry is considered one of the most innovative U.S. industries. Many improvements over the years have been directed at improving safety for the passengers and advancements to the airliners. In the last 5 years, there have been several key technological and operational innovations that are severely impacting the future of all domestic flights, with artificial intelligence leading the way. Through artificial intelligence, airlines are aiming to upgrade customer experience and make overall operations more efficient. They will do this by using facial recognition tools to reduce time spent in security and start moving away from things like passports and boarding passes. They will also collect data through AI, which will be used to help create a personalized experience for each individual traveler for their future flights.
As COVID-19 started to spread across the globe, there quickly became a decrease of flights taking off per day. The demand for domestic air travel decreased 51% in March of 2020, 95.7% in April, and 88.4% in May, with these numbers being compared to the total amount of passengers traveling in 2019. Airline companies have also faced huge revenue losses, resulting in an estimated decline of 53.8% in annual revenue in just 2020. Overall, the industry was at loss, and United Airlines in specific was at a $7.1 billion loss. This resulted in companies being forced to cut costs due to these losses. This meant increased employment furloughs, layoffs, and temporary hiring freezes. However, due to the pandemic, airline companies have had to adapt with new policies and changes where they began to implement new customer service strategies. United Airlines was the first airline to permanently remove change fees for traveling passengers. Additional adjustments from companies have been made to online platforms to make it convenient to travelers to become aware of these new changes. United Airlines in January of 2021 launched the Travel Ready Center, a new digital solution where customers can review COVID-19 requirements, find local testing, and upload testing and vaccination records for travel all in one place. United was the first airline to integrate all of these features into its mobile app and website. With airlines being able to adapt to new changes, we'll likely over the next few years get this industry back to where it once was despite the impact from COVID-19. Thank you.